Earlier this week, I got my mail order from the Phantom of the Attic up in Pittsburgh, and it was a lighter haul. I haven't seen a lot that's being released recently that has really interested me. So this is about 7 weeks worth, but it's still a nice collection of books. So I just thought I'd expand on it. I posted on Instagram, but I thought expanding on it might extra off the interiors and such. So the first book is Kiss the Sky. This is from Black Panel Press by J.M. Dupont and the European artist Mezzo. And this is the first volume of a planned 2 or 3 volume series as a biography on Jimi Hendrix. Nice square hardcover, really nice quality. I'm gonna open this up here. Came with a bookmark, and I'm not that familiar with Mezzo as an artist. I have always heard how great Mezzo is, and so I really bought this book on the fact that I've heard he was a good artist. I've bought some more from Black Panel Press. I think they make nice books, and I'm a huge fan of Jimi Hendrix. So art looks great. This has a it's like almost like an underground kind of feel, but it's very clean and polished, very well drawn. This paper is like a little bit of an off-white, so it's interesting. Background is not pure white. Art looks good. And this looks like it's just Jimi Hendrix growing up in Seattle. And probably a lot here about his life I don't know. I know a little bit of his life before he became famous. But I thought that this would be an interesting book, and so far it is. And the first volume ends with him traveling from Seattle to London. Really nice looking book. Looking forward to reading this. Next is The Scrapbook of Life and Death by J. Webster Sharp. I've been a big fan of J. Webster Sharp's work for quite a while. Just an outstanding artist. I just never knew where to start. So I saw this and I thought, okay, it's a nice place to start. It's an oversized graphic novel. Looked really interesting just to cover alone, so I just got it based on being a fan of her work. And it is a graphic novel, and the thing about her work is just it's so detailed. This reminds me a little bit of Nina Bunjevac's work, which to me is a really big compliment because I think she's amazing. But it's different. It's similar, but it's different than her work. Just really interesting work and just ideas. It's wordless. It looks like it's wordless. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this and reading it, and just finally my hands on some of her work. I think this will be great. Okay. Next is volume 14 of Fist of the North Star. There is going to be a total of 18 volumes, and they're published quarterly. So the next one comes out December of 2024, and then every 3 months after that. I've really enjoyed this series. I've talked about it a lot. After volume, I think 10, it took them, in real life, what happened was they were going to end the manga, and then it was so popular, they were told to extend it. So it took them like a little while to finally figure out how they were going to extend it. And so volume 11 and maybe 12 starts off a little slow, kind of like almost resetting the table, but continuing the adventure at the same time. But by volume 13, it really starts kicking into high gear. So now this book is very enjoyable once again. If you haven't gotten these books, they're really well made, really nice quality, hardcovers. This is completely Mad Max inspired by the author's own admission, and they even reproduced the pages that were produced for some of the chapters. The intro chapter is in color. They're produced here. Just really interesting series. I enjoy this. And so I'm looking forward to finally being able to read the entire adventure and finish it September 2025. Okay. Tim Lane, Mythologies and Apocrypha, Part 2. Tim Lane is an artist that I've only gotten to know about maybe a year ago. He had a story and now that really blew me away. And apparently this is an ongoing comic that features stories of this graphic novel that he's working on. That's supposed to be a biography of Steve McQueen. But when I read the first issue, you could see where it's like a biography, but it's almost like historical fiction. And I don't think it's like a straight biography, but the lines between what was real and what was, like real, I mean historical fact, and what was his interpretation or his spin on certain things, it was so hard to decide that you almost weren't sure what was real, what wasn't. So it's all believable. Tim Lane is an amazing cartoonist. I know he's been around for a long time. Just really good writer. Beautiful style of work. This is, his part of his Frank Sinatra. It's like a Frank Sinatra and Steve McQueen type of combination. It's sort of like one of those documentaries where they interview people and everybody's got their spin, and sometimes the spins are contradictory to each other depending on who you talk to. Just, black and white color, just really an interesting comic, just really high level of talent and craft and care. This comic is $5.99, and I know that most is black and white, but this is $2 more than a regular $3.99 comic, and this is leaps and bounds better than anything being put out by Big Two. I know this is not monthly. I think the last issue was 3-4 months ago. But this is just outstanding. One thing I do want to mention is this actually, when I was flipping through it, this story, Fun Time Funnies, this was actually in Now magazine. This is actually the story that got me introduced into Tim Lane and really made me a fan of his. And so this is supposed to be like Little Stevie, like Little Stevie McQueen, but again, we don't know if it's real or not real or what it is. But this story is just a really kind of like sweet but heartbreaking story that I think I'm just going to cover separately. But this is the story that if you read this in Now, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't picked up Now by Fantagraphics, you can get the story here. Just a great cartoonist. Okay. All new Henry Glenn. Okay, I've heard about these Henry and Glenn comics. I know very high level what they're kind of about. I just thought this would be fun. Small, all-color book. This retails for $7. I got it really because I thought it'd be interesting, and also Tom Neely is the artist. I like Tom Neely's work a lot. So, like I said, I really don't know what this book is about, although I do love this old school Nancy. You have Nancy, Little Lulu, Dick Tracy, Sluggo, Henry and Glenn in the same panel. I just love this old school approach. And then I kind of like this art, this kind of cartoony, almost fun art, considering that the subjects, can be, are hardcore musicians. I just think it's kind of a nice contrast. I think this will be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. And then this is Frank Miller's Ronin Rising. This is the sequel to his 1983, I want to say, miniseries Ronin. I have the miniseries, the original issues. And this is 40 years later. This is Frank Miller, Philip Tan, and Daniel Enriquez. This is for that Frank Miller Presents title. And so, and I got this because it's an interesting retail experiment, because There's a $40 hardcover that's like about this big. It's really nice. And when you flip it open, the stories are all big, all read. You can be read horizontally. Really nice hardcover, full color, the whole deal. And then they published at the same time this, which is a black and white manga version for $12.99. And I mean, this comes like old school European trades with the dust jacket, Frank Miller cover. And these guys, you know, it says Frank Miller does the layouts. I think most of these guys do a great job copying the Frank Miller style. But again, this is just a manga edition of it in black and white. And I figured for $12.99, if I really didn't like it, I could just say, well, it's $12.99 as opposed to spending $40 on a book that I don't even know if it's good or not. I'm probably going to read the original series before I read this. But the art looks pretty good. I can see where a lot of these guys copy, or sort of copy the Frank Miller style, but really enhance it and kind of make it more for modern taste, I would say. But I thought I would try this out only because I have the original. I'm just kind of curious to see if it's good or not. And also, as I said, I was very curious. These pages look like they're more drawn by Frank, and some of these look like they're definitely not drawn by Frank. I just wanted to say that I wanted to get this, as I mentioned, because I just thought it was an interesting retail experiment. And so this is the book, actually, if you look at it. And it looks like this, big hardcover. So I'm curious. This will probably be the last Frank Miller book I buy. But I just thought I wanted to see, you know, what's changed in 40 years as far as the storytelling, because the first miniseries, just so you know, the first miniseries didn't sell all that well. I think it was something that American audiences were not ready for. It was a lot like a Japanese movie where there's a lot of things left to be explained, a little bit like Rashomon, or even though it's not a Japanese film. And lastly, I got Audrey Hepburn by Michel Botton and Doris Giacchetto. This was an Italian graphic novel that was released last year. This is the English version. I'm a fan of Audrey Hepburn. I thought this would be a more faithful biography because it's a European graphic novel as opposed to like an American one where we kind of like always want to like slant everything, especially our celebrities, and show them as perfect people. You know, shows when she's doing Gigi. I like this style where it's cartoony, but it still looks like her. You know, filming Roman Holiday, which I saw recently for the first time, and Sabrina, you know, and it's funny because it actually talks about her affair with Bill Holden on the set of, while they're filming Sabrina, and just how she became like a fashion icon, and how then later on she became involved with humanitarian causes. And I just think it's probably an interesting book. I'm kind of curious to seeing a European slant on famous celebrity as opposed to the American slant. That's it. Like I said, I didn't get all that much. I just thought that I haven't seen that much that's really interested me lately. And I know that Fantagraphics and a few other publishers are coming out with some interesting stuff beginning of 2025. I don't know if that's intentional, where they're just thinking that maybe, I don't know if sales are going to be down or whatever, but there's a lot of books that even I've been interested in that were solicited for December and November have been pushed back until early next year. There might be supply chain issues, but there hasn't really been all that much, but I'm really happy with this set of books. I think this is just a really nice set. If you're familiar with any of these things or just have any comments, please let me know. I always learn when I get a comment. That's really it. Thanks for your time.